Alrighty, so I'm back working on the 2010 Yamaha R1. I believe I've pinpointed the issue why it won't start. Crankcase cover right here. As you can see, one of the dowel housings has a crack right in it, so I believe that's throwing the timing off and not allowing the bike to start correctly. So just came in the mail, the new cover. I had to get it directly from Yamaha. I tried to buy a cheap one off eBay and it ended up not fitting correctly, so had to go directly from the distributor. Finally got it in the mail. Let's crack that box open, install it, see if this bike will start. All right, got the new crankcase cover installed here. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna need to use a little bit of gasket maker right here. We have the gasket there, but a little bit of gasket maker is gonna need to go here because that's where the grommets go to the crankcase position sensor. So I'm gonna get that all installed. Let's see if this bike will start. There you have it. It runs. Seems to run pretty good. It was smoking really bad when I got it running. I took it for a little ride down my road and back just for like 2 minutes. And I got back and it was smoking really bad. Let it sit for a minute. And then I came out and started again. The smoke cleared up after I took the exhaust apart. I believe my best guess is there was water built up in the exhaust from when it was laying on its side. I'm not 100% sure. It seems to have cleared out. That's just my best guess. It's really hard to kind of try to open up the exhaust. The exhaust is the OEM exhaust. It's all welded underneath there. The only point I could access was this right here. Doesn't seem to be any more water in there. I think it all evaporated when I ran the bike and got to temp. The bike runs really good. Now I just got to run through it, find the list of parts I need. I know for sure I want to get a new exhaust for it. I'm just not sure what I want to do yet. There's a lot of options. Might just do a slip-on just due to full exhausts are so expensive, but I'm definitely going to want to do a mid-pipe delete if I do that. So I'm not sure what my plans are for the exhaust. I know I want to get a new fairing kit. I want to repair that. I'm not sure if that's really a scratch or if that's just a blemish in the paint. It needs new grips and bar ends, levers. Luckily the gauge cluster is okay and the headlights are all in good shape. Forks are good, fork seals are good. There's no more damage on the engine covers anymore. The only damage was on this crankcase cover and it changed that out. Needs new pegs right there. Sadly, when I was putting this new cover on, this bolt stripped out. So I gotta re-tap that because it's leaking a tiny bit of oil out of there now because it won't seat up. So I gotta fix that. Other than that, bike seems to be pretty solid, pretty low mileage. Want to go ahead and Probably swap this chain out. It's pretty rusty. I was gonna clean it up, but I think it just needs replaced entirely. I'm gonna get new sliders for it because these both, luckily the rear taillight's still good. This thing sounds crazy with that exhaust off. It sounds like a V8 truck. I'm gonna start it up and let it get to temp again this morning here. Make sure it's not smoking still. And we're gonna start ordering parts for it. All right, it's been a couple days. I took the 2010 R1 out for a ride today. The smoke has completely cleared up, no longer smokes. It was definitely not just water, it's oil too. As you can see, I got some of it on the rear set here, and it's like an oil water mixture. So I assume when the bike was laying on its side, it was water in the exhaust, and then oil probably got on the maybe through the valves onto the top of the pistons, probably some oil in the spark plugs, not really sure. Oil's not in the airbox. I pulled the tank up, looked in the airbox is completely dry, so it's not burning any oil. I topped it off a little bit extra oil, and oil level is perfectly fine. Like I said, check the airbox, that was dry, so bike's running really good. It's got a lot of power. Seems to have an issue in first gear. It's got somewhat of like a chatter in first gear. It kind of lugs into first gear. I'm not sure if it's the chain. The chain definitely needs replaced. I'm getting a new chain for it, but I'm not sure if maybe first gear is just kind of weird on these bikes, and it still seems to have a starting issue. It doesn't like to start right up, and I've heard that these bikes are kind of weird to start, but I'm not 100% sure if it's still got issues from being laid on its side. I'm assuming maybe spark plugs. I mean, I want to change all the spark plugs. I'm assuming they're probably all fouled out if they got oil on them, so maybe that's the reason it doesn't want to run right. So we're going to start with, next step is getting a compression test on all the cylinders. I'm going to do that next week. Going to change out all the spark plugs, and tonight we're ordering an exhaust for the bike. I decided on getting a slip-on with a mid-pipe, just because, not even due to cost, just because they're not even available right now. Parts are almost impossible to find, so we got some plans here. I think you guys might like what I'm gonna do with the exhaust. It's gonna be kind of cool. I have some plans for the rest of the bike. Not 100% sure what I'm gonna do, but I got some ideas. I think I wanna end up powder coating these rims, but I'm not sure because it does have the Raven pinstripe on there, so I do possibly have an idea of wanting to do something different with it. So gonna make that decision here. Gonna get parts coming in the mail. It's gonna be a little bit. Alrighty, so parts are showing up for the 2010 R1. So before I start throwing them on there, we're gonna run a compression test on the bike. So let's start the bike up, let it warm up, start tearing all this stuff apart, and get a compression test on this thing. Got all 4 plugs out. They don't really look that bad considering the bike was smoking. Ran the compression test on it. Came back consistent across all cylinders, so that's really good. Really good news. That's exactly what I was looking for. So today I'm gonna pick up some spark plugs for it. They're special order spark plugs. No one in town had them. Finally gonna get them in today. We're gonna throw them in the bike, brand new spark plugs. I'm gonna assemble all this back together. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this cat off. My mid pipe will be in here in a couple weeks as well. I'll be able to get that going. I'll get the exhaust completed. I'm gonna go ahead and change this peg out. And I think we're gonna probably change these grips and levers and this fairing stay out. Get that stuff kind of done. And then one other thing I wanna do is change this chain out. It's rusty, so I can only imagine what the O-rings must look like. Got a brand new DID chain right there. Got new bar ends as well. I went ahead and pulled this bar end off because I was nervous that the actual internal was bent, but it turns out it was just the screw that was holding the bar end on was bent, so nothing damaged there. One bad thing that did happen was I tried to go ahead and fix this bolt in here. This one was cross-threaded, or it just ripped all the threads out. I'm not sure. Before me owning it, and it leaks a little bit of oil. And I tried chasing the threads. It didn't work, sadly. So I'm thinking I'm gonna have to re-tap that hole. So that's something I'm gonna have to take a minute. I want to do that right. I don't want to mess that up. So I'm gonna re-tap that hole so that seals up better, because as you can see, it's just leaking a little bit of oil. Nothing major, but definitely gotta get that sealed up. And I do have new sliders for it as well. Just gotta figure out a socket that'll go in there. Gotta have a pretty shallow socket, so, and deep as well. Let's get it done. All right, that's probably gonna be where I end this video. In this video, we figured out that the motor is good, so that's really good news. That's exactly what I was hoping for. In the next video, we will start assembling it back together. I'll get the spark plugs. Hopefully the exhaust will come in soon. I'll get the little odds and ends like the levers and the bar ends, the grips put on there. And we'll just check to see if there's any other little things we need. Shouldn't be much. And then we just gotta wait on the plastics and just finish up a couple other things. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next video.